All right. So welcome everybody out in social media land. We are the Flint Public Health Youth Academy, and we're here for another episode of A Youth Perspective. We have an awesome dynamic show to start kicking off our summer campaign focused on mental health. We're going to talk today about body image, body shaming, and body positivity. These are things that we all know has a lasting impact, not only on young people, but adults as well, and particularly our mental health. And so we're excited today to have this conversation. Please pause for a second, like and share this on your Facebook. Let your friends know that we're here. Like and share, like and share. The Flint Public Health Youth Academy is in the house, and we're ready to have a dynamic discussion. We have two wonderful co-hosts for today. We have Ms. Kayla Shannon and Mr. Cruz Duhart, who will be guiding this and facilitating this conversation as we talk about body image, body positivity, body shaming, and its impact on mental health. So again, like and share, let your friends know that we are live, and here we go. All right, Kayla and Cruz, it's in your hands.
So hello, everyone. As Dr. Keith said, we're going to be having a great conversation today about body image, body positivity, body shaming, everything that has to do with your body and your perception of self. This is an important conversation for us to have, especially going into the summer, because as we all know, this is just that time of year where people are the most bold about criticizing one another's bodies, and also that people are the most self-conscious as we step out into the sun with our warm weather clothes on. And so we just wanted to come here today and be of encouragement to you all and have important conversations about how the media impacts our perception of self and why it's so important for us to be loving towards one another, be loving towards these bodies that just got us through a pandemic, or we're not through it, but that is getting us through this pandemic. And so really quick, before we get into the conversation, we just wanted to go through and define a few terms that we'll be using often throughout this discussion. So I'm going to go through and define some terms, and then we're going to get into discussion. So the first term is body image. And body image is the subjective picture or mental image of one's own body. So it's not necessarily how exactly you look, but it's how you think you look. The next term is going to be body positivity, which refers to the assertion that all people deserve to have a positive body image, regardless of how society and popular culture view ideal shape, size, and appearance. Some of the goals of the body positive movement include challenging how society views the body and promoting the acceptance of all bodies. And that definition came from Very Well Mind. The next term is body shaming, which is the action or practice of humiliating someone by making mocking or critical comments about their body shape or size. And then lastly, we have media. And so when we refer to media, we're talking about the main means of mass communication regarded collectively. So that'll be things like social media, magazines, books, movies, television, advertising, and so on and so forth. So go ahead, Cruz, get us started on those questions.
Well, with that last definition of media, we're going to start off with that. Has media impacted your perception of self? And if so, how? You might want to raise their hands or jump in. All right, Amir. And then we'll go Kayla and then Tomas.
So for me, like for example, if you go in a store, any type of store, you see like magazines and stuff like that, and you always see like a photo or on the corner of a photo of so-and-so looks pregnant or so-and-so looks fat, and it's like, geez, like can't you let the person live for once? Like I think also it creates that stigma of like you have to be perfect every single day, or what you think is the standard of perfect, which is not true. Like not every day you're gonna look the same size or not gonna feel the same way. And so I think these tabloids and magazines and stuff are doing a really poor job of really trying to put that out there into the world that you have to be perfect every single day.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that, Amir. And I would just add on that for me, it's been not only just the perception of myself as like a person who's supposed to fit into this shape, right? Like you're supposed to be hourglass right now. Boobs and butts are in, but like really, really, really small waist, like almost back how they used to be with like corsets, like that's the sort of shape that's in. But it's not only just the body shape, but just the hypersexualization of women in media in general makes me feel almost like, okay, well, two things. One, like if I put my body away, am I still sexy? Like, is that like, it's almost the opposite of like slut shaming, because we as a society have decided that like this is what sexy is. Like sexy means showing off your curves and not having a lot of clothes on. But also it's like, okay, who are these women when they have their clothes on? Like, are they still beautiful? But then also on the flip side of that, it's like we as a society will uplift these women in magazines and movies and all of these different types of media where they don't have on a lot of clothes, right? But then if I as a woman decide to step out of the house with some short shorts on or with a crop top, now I'm a slut or a whore or some other derogatory term that they use to try to stop women from being from practicing autonomy over their bodies. So there's just this real contradiction there for me, which has been sort of hard to navigate, especially as I grow into my figure.
Definitely, I hear you on that. And yeah, I would just say, of course, every ad, every commercial you see, Coca-Cola, makeup, shoes, all of that, you never see people that just like it's diversified. Everyone's all like fit, quote unquote, or everyone's all perfect. Or even if you look, even sometimes I watch teenage shows and movies on Netflix, and the teenagers look mega human. It's not relatable to what's actually in the class. You'll see freaking John Cena as a freshman, someone with that body, The Rock, as you're someone at the lunch table with you. So it's really unrealistic. And I feel like that can kind of get into people's heads, boys and young men, whatever you like to say, probably influence us to be like, oh, I want to get fit. I want to, start working so I can look like him. And I'm sure like with the girls, they're all like, I want to look like her and whatever have you. But I've just seen kind of from not really what's influenced me, but from an observant perspective on social media, people are always using filters, and I feel like that shows a message within itself. Like, I'll just like already see like a girl who's pretty and she's just putting filter over filter on top of makeup. And now if you want to do that, that's your style. You do you. But my thing is, you don't got to have all that to be pretty. Just go out, but it's easier said than done because, society's already kind of done this damage. So that's all I have to say is, definitely social media, big time. People, the little flower thing on people's head or the little stars in the background. I know that's not in your room. Turn that off. Show your real face. Smile. So.
That's funny. I can connect to that, Tomas. I could talk personal experience. I don't know. I think a lot of what's pushed is this sense of attraction, right? When you look at film, magazines, all those things that you guys have discussed. And I don't know, when I was younger, I didn't really find myself as attractive, right? I didn't have a lot of, courage or confidence in my appearance. And I feel like a lot of that was these different things that are displayed in society. I didn't look like these people. Whether that be, race or, the type of build that I was. And so, yeah, I think for a while it kind of harmed my personality and how I engage with people. And so I think when I put that onto women who it seems like they are getting the like worst of it, like truly the worst of it. I can only imagine what it's like to be growing up in this day and age where so many things are sexualized and there's so much value found in those type of things, like how attractive you are. It's can be really negative and it can really mess with your mental, I feel like. But if no one else wants to say anything else, we can move on to our next question. Kayla, you want to take this one?
No, Christian's raising his hand.
Oh, okay. You can go, Christian. We cannot hear you.
Can't hear you. It might be your headphone.
Headphones too. Okay, so I was trying to wear them so you don't have to worry about the wind noise. But anyway, I just wanted to add on real quick that media makes it really easy to, you can show yourself off, you can be, proud of yourself. But the issue with that, especially nowadays, is that people will throw anything at you to make you feel bad, to make themselves feel better. So even if you're the most beautiful person in the world, you're still going to have people saying, not as good as me, I'm better, or something random like that. It's just impossible to feel good about yourself on the internet, which is just really unfortunate. There are people out there that are always there to support you no matter what, but there are always people out there that are just there to bash you down. They don't need to look at you and go, oh, not as good as I am. It's hard. It's very difficult to do anything like that with confidence nowadays, because it's so easy to leave a review or something like that in the background saying, not as good, not as good.
Thank you, Christian. And so now we'll have Kiera.
And you got my name right, Kayla, don't worry. I wanted to just add really quickly that I think there are all of the example that you all express as far as how society have shaped our, I didn't know you guys couldn't see my face. I'll fix that in a minute. Our idea of ourselves, but also it's the same with our family and in a professional setting as well. So there's lots of memes and different jokes that are in the Black community about having your hair straight, and as soon as you get the job, going in with your natural hair, or some people who think that they have to have their hair straight because of where they work, or me personally, like my nails. I think acrylics are a cultural thing. And growing up, that was something that we did for like birthdays or homecoming or anything like that, as especially occasion. And then as you got older, if you were going to do it more regularly, then it's like, something you kept up with. But in a professional setting, not a lot of people have them. And then it's almost like I'm self-conscious sometimes, like, okay, I'm not going to get designs. I'm just going to get a regular pink and white. And I'm not going to get them that long because, there's some stereotype with how those are perceived. And then also in the way you dress, as you talked about, Kayla, where you have to be super curvy or have a certain amount of clothes on, or as a bigger person, my entire life. And I just was watching an episode of a show last night where a girl was talking about, I can have on the same clothes as someone else, but with, larger top and bottom, it looks different on me. And that's personal and in the professional world, because it's like, I need a suit jacket, but it has to be this long because it has to go over my butt, or I can't wear a button up at all because it's going to still pull across my chest, so stuff like that you still think about every day. And then also what's enough, what's not enough, what's too much. And like my grandmother's an AKA. And so, there are a lot of standards when she grew up. She's 87. And, when Black people started being able to be in these spaces where they weren't allowed before, it's like, how people say your Sunday is best. You're stepping out perfect, prepared, pressed, all of that. And with my grandmother, that's the standard all the time. And so like, I remember since, COVID has started, when I video call her because she thinks I don't call enough, and I video call her, she's like, are you okay? What's the matter? I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to call me because I don't have a full face of makeup on, or, my hair is like this instead of down. And that means it's a problem to her. That means something is not right. So I think it comes from family, and it's something that we grow up with in a professional setting as well. I'm not going to get started on the idea of how Black young men and women are turned into adults much older than they actually are. And so things that we're just, playing, being kids, there's something where we're trying to be grown, or how they call little Black boys grown men when they think it's something wrong with them. So
yeah, Kiera, I think you touched on a really good point that I hadn't honestly originally thought of, which is just the ways in which media has convinced us that Blackness is unprofessional, or Blackness is in some way we know that they've attempted to teach us that Blackness is inferior, but Black features specifically, like we talk about specifically the fetishization of Black women's bodies, and how as a society, like it used to be like, literally there are people like Hottentot Venus who was put on display, and people would come to laugh and point and joke at her because she was full figured. And now look at us now, and these are the bodies that women are paying for. And on the Kardashians, it's beautiful. This is gorgeous. This is the goal. This is ideal. And so I think you touch on a really good point, and it also helps me to transition into this our next question, which is, what gender differences have you noticed in marketing campaigns or in media that may impact society's perception of the quote unquote ideal body? So I'm gonna go ahead and start, give y'all a second to think. So for me, I mean, we've already gotten to that conversation a little bit of how for men or people who are male presenting, it's like you gotta buff, you gotta be strong, you gotta have abs and muscles on muscles on muscles on muscles, and you have to be this tall, and you have to like all of those things. But for me as a woman, it's like you can't win for losing. Like they want you to be thick, but they don't want you to have belly, which is interesting because those things oftentimes come together for us women, that, you know, when you put on a little weight in the hips, you put on a little weight in the stomach too, and that's okay. Or just like it for me has made bloating something that I'm just now like becoming more comfortable with. Because for women or people with uteruses, we understand that like when you consume certain things and you have estrogen coursing through your body, it's going to sit in certain ways, right? And I would, for a very long time, wake up and be like, oh, I look so thin. But then if I eat one cracker, it's like, whoo, and it shows. And that's okay, right? But we, as a society, we see in magazines, we see everything Photoshop. Everything. Recently, or maybe not recently, I think it was in the last couple years, but Zendaya, who is a body positive social figure, literally had to go in and check a magazine because they had cropped one of her figures. Now, y'all, if you know Zendaya, you know Zendaya is thin. Like it's not necessarily that like she's a thin person, and they still felt the need to go in and crop and make this look a little bit more cinched and make her waist look a little bit smaller. And she was like, no, that's not my body. And if you're gonna put my body on your cover, then you're gonna show what my body looks like. And so for me, like that's the gender difference, because it's like for women, it's like if your hair is short, then you look like a boy. If your hair is too long, then that's something. If your waist is too small, then if you're too skinny, then you're anorexic. If you're too big, then you're this. If you're like there has been no stagnancy whatsoever with what society's perception of like what a woman should look like and what a female figure should look like, which is like, honestly, I'm to the point where it's like, this is the body you gonna get. And if it's bloated, it's bloated. And if it looks thin, it looks thin. And if I look thick, I look thick. And if I don't, I don't. And either way, it's gorgeous. Like, and that's just the point that you have to get to, because society is never like at no point in time. I mean, I hope eventually, but not where we are now is not going to stop putting constraints on you. And if you continue to be slave to that, you'll be slave for the rest of your life. So does anyone else want to comment on that? Cruz?
I can speak on it a little bit. Yeah, I think a lot of what you said is right. And a lot of it has to come to cultural differences and biases and things like that. And stacked on top of that, people are finicky. And so that gets juggled and altered and changes really frequent without much of thought. And the issue is now you're starting to make these people feel lesser than. There was a long time where it was thought of that women were supposed to be skinny, and then that transformed, like you said, and now skinny women are like low-key taking a little bit of a brunt of it now. And you sit here and think, and you ask yourself, why are we doing this at all? What purpose does this serve? When I look at myself in the mirror and I compare myself to, let's say, famous celebrities that are men, things that stick out to me immediately is that, oh, my nose is too big, or, you know, my lips are too full, or things like that. And these things are assigned to not be attractive, let's say. And the issue here, a lot of it is what these things that that we've done and shaped to based off of what a stereotypical person of that gender might look like don't really fit anyone. I mean, like you just said, like even with celebrities, they have to edit and Photoshop these pictures and not just normally do it. They have professionals do it. And so this is like a industrial task. Like this is something that people get really paid for. And so when you look at it, you got to understand that behind the scenes, this is all just like kind of like a marketing thing. It's not really caring about the actual people's bodies. It's, you know, they're trying to sell their product to you. And if you know, use this shampoo, your hair might be wavy like this and it'll flow like this, and you know, the commercials and things like that. When in the reality, that's kind of unrealistic. It might alter your hair a certain way, but you know, your hair is your hair, and that should be something that you're happy with or satisfied with, if possible. And it shouldn't be any more than that. It should be, you know, learning to be happy with and accepting your own body. And of course, if you want it to look certain ways, like me, I dye my hair, for example, those are things that are comfortable. If you're comfortable with that, those things are okay. But it should never be, you know, because society says that this body figure is, you know, better, you should force yourself to, you know, fit that. We're not all one mold. We are all very different people. And so we can't all be one thing. And so that's kind of the way I would like us to look at it, is that these things aren't necessarily for the benefit of us. Would anyone else like to go? Tomas.
I can go real quick. I just know, like with women, I've seen like just sometimes in the mall, and I've even heard of some of my peers with female using certain products. I know like that, or like it seems like that's really what I was kind of piggyback when you were talking about like the marketing and, you know, getting capitalism off of things. Because I know that there's certain garments and certain products that make certain body parts appeal or more visible, you know, than others. And, you know, that's totally taken away from the natural look, you know. Like it seems like people are trying to make you seem all natural, but they're doing all of the artificial stuff to get you natural, you know? So it's really a big, in the end of the day, hypocrisy. So I just wanted to say that I know it seems more of a struggle with the women. I'm sure there's probably products for men that's trying to alter their appearance too. But I just know with women, like the marketers are really going hard at them, you know, and it's sad. So like I said, it's a big hypocrisy thing.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it starts at a young age. Even if you look at, this is not what we listed, but you look at like toys. I mean, girls might grow up with dolls and Barbies and things like that, and they look certain ways. And then, you know, it's kind of impressed upon them at these young ages that this is what society deems as beautiful. And if you don't see yourself in that, that can, you know, cause you to move down roads that aren't mentally, you know, healthy for you. If no one else wants to add to this topic, we can move on to the next question. Oh,
wait,
Kayla?
hold on quickly. Because I just want to, Tomas, you touched on such a good point. The beauty industry literally cannot prosper. I mean, and I'm not saying, to be clear, some people wear makeup, are comfortable with themselves, secure in themselves, and still wear makeup. I'm not saying that wearing makeup automatically means that you're insecure and you don't love yourself. Let's like get rid of that, because that's a whole nother thing that doesn't make sense. But like the beauty industry profits largely in many ways from insecurity. Like I remember in high school, there were these girls who would wear makeup religiously. Like on the days that they didn't wear makeup, I was like, who are you? And my school started at 7:20. So that means you're waking up as early as, if you ride the bus, as early as 5:30 in the morning to put a face on every day. because some of these people, I'm not saying all of them, because once again, some people wear makeup because it's just their preference and that's fine. But some of these people were truly putting in all of that effort, spending all of that money as high schoolers, literally the time when you're still developing and still learning. You're not even fully developed. You haven't even grown into yourself. But as high schoolers, because they felt like, I am not presentable unless this is my face. And that comes from, yes, like you said, Barbie dolls, Bratz dolls, these little dolls that we used to play with, that are in no way close to what our body shape is, like waists that are this big, literally waists that are this big. I saw this one video and it was like if Barbie was in real life, and she looked so deformed because she just like, no one looks like that. I think she was like 6 feet tall. Her waist was like this. She was like, and it's just unrealistic. Like it does fit some people. Like I'm sure some people just are naturally born like that. But it's also like we have to account for that, right? Like there are these models that they put on these screens, or like these people who on social media are athletic, these Instagram influencers, and some of them, their body has been like that. Like it's not the tummy tea, sis. It's really just your body. Like that's how you look since you were 16. Some people genetically just fit into this ideal, this societal ideal. And so as y'all are saying, it's very important that you find security in yourself. And so yeah, go ahead, Cruz. You can.
All right. Moving on. Our next question is, do you feel that the media does a good job to promote body positivity? Yes or no? Amir.
I would say no, but we're kind of getting a little bit of progress, a tiny bit of progress. But other than that, it's like every day they're still coming at different like actresses, celebrities, just people about what their body shape is or what they look like and stuff like that. And it's still not changing that very much as far as I've seen. So.
And then Christian, you can go next.
All right. I'm kind of on the same road as Amir. For the majority, no, absolutely not. There's industries built on, stipulations and just, making you feel bad about yourself so you can go and fix yourself. So, and those are only getting more popular with celebrities supporting them and all this other stuff. And if you have fun doing that, if you have fun, like Kayla said earlier, if you have a good time doing that, go for it. By all means, it's good. But it's just not as good as it could be. And again, with all the people that are just consistently negative, no matter what you do, they're gonna sit there and talk crap no matter what, because it's what they do. It's no real way to avoid it necessarily. And it is the thing, like there's no perfect person, because there's always going to be another person that says no, but not for me. So I mean, there's a lot of things supporting people to feel good about yourself and yourself only, not to worry about what other people are thinking about you. That's going to be the more important thing. There's lots of media and stuff that'll sit there and support you, which is good. That's beneficial in every way. So sound like Amir, like particularly and generally, no, they could be doing way better. Like people just need to shut their mouths if they have any sort of opinion that means nothing realistically. But definitely can get better, and things are getting better. So progress is the way to go.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. And I think there's two sides of it as well. There's the one side that's like, let's say the internet. When Instagram was designed, I'm pretty sure they didn't have the intentions of having this hysteria of, self-deprecation. That's been something that's been really common with our generation, is that by seeing all these images of what is considered attractive or ideal, it has been affecting our health negatively. But of course, that's not the necessary intention. But from that uproot, individuals where, like how Christian was talking about, people just hate for no reason. And it's pretty wrong. And there's not really a reason for it, especially when it doesn't necessarily have to involve you. But then there's also the other side that Amir is looking into, with tabloids, magazines, and, people who are just like part of these type of industries, because come on, let's be honest, these tabloids that are, you know, talking about these celebrities, they're going to have a makeup ad in them. And so it's like, they obviously are biased and they want you to feel insecure. And if they do things like say this celebrity is not enough, of course it leaves the impression that you aren't enough as well, because this person is loved and respected by, you know, society as a whole. And so it's really destructive. But I do believe that there's still hope out there. There are different programs, initiatives, and things that are trying to, you know, uplift. I mean, whether that be hashtags on Twitter or, you know, just general groups of people who desire for people to feel happy and good about themselves, you know, comfortable in their skin. And at the end of the day, I feel like that's what we're all kind of trying to push for, is to feel secure to some extent. Does anybody have anything else to add on to it?
Tashay has her hand.
Tashay, and then we'll go Kayla.
So I'm sorry, I had what I was gonna say, but could you repeat the question for me one more time?
I definitely can. Do you feel that the media does a good job to promote body positivity?
I'm iffy on that because it depends. Like, it also depends on what social media platform you are. As of now, not really, no, because you don't see a lot of, like you said, you see a lot of models who are really thin and slim, and yes, that's nice body positivity, but you don't see a lot of models who are different to the world. Like, for example, on Instagram, I follow this thing called beauty culture, beauty positivity on Instagram. And there's people who have the skin disease to where they're albino, who do makeup, drag queen. Then there's a woman who has a giant tumor on her face and she doesn't care what people think. There's also a profile I follow and she's promoting herself and telling her story, saying it doesn't matter what you look like, just be you. Don't care. Don't try to please the world. You be yourself. And she's went through 3rd-degree burns and all over her body. And if you were to say like big magazine companies, they don't really promote it as much as you think. And like you guys said, there's always ads or coupons or commercials or radio announcements of medical procedures for body like modifications and for makeup and stuff like that. And you don't ever see, you know, other people with different bodies do stuff like that.
Yeah, and honestly, I think at the root of that, that's really some secure, good advice was, you know, just do you. Because at the end of the day, these people have invested interest. Like they're trying to either make money or gain some sort of exposure to something.
And also another thing with that is a lot of the time you don't see other people doing it. It's because they're too scared to do it because their whole life they've been raised that if you're not like Barbie, if you're not like the Bratz dolls, then you're not good enough to be on the TV screen. If you're not Marilyn Monroe, you're not good to be on the TV screen. You have to be this beautiful sex figure. You have to be this beautiful, majestic woman. If you're heavier than a certain amount of weight, if you're short, you can't do it. And that's also why a lot of us as a whole, not just women, but us as a whole have a hard time, you know, strutting our stuff. And, you know, I struggle with it sometimes, a lot of the times, but, you know, I try to get through it. But, you know, just tell the world out there, don't be afraid to show the world who you are, because in the end, it's who you that matters. You can't please everyone, so don't even try to please everyone.
Yeah, that's some good advice. Kayla,
Yeah.
you want to say?
Yeah. I was just gonna say, I think, I mean, because we all have so many different examples, obviously media can't be doing the best job. we just listed off 20 different ways in which media has done the opposite of a good job promoting body positivity. But I do think that there are like you all have said, there are specific people who, celebrities and initiatives and programs that have been fighting for people to just love themselves. And I want to talk about a few of them. One of them is Lizzo, who has gotten so much pushback. Oh my God. I didn't realize how uncomfortable our society was with being fat than until now. Like it's almost like we think it's a cuss word, like fat, like no, it's an adjective. Just like you can say black, you can say fat, because it's okay. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with being fat. There's nothing wrong with having fat. And there's this pushback, like, why is she promoting being fat? When first of all, Lizzo has never said, y'all get fat, be fat. Being fat is the healthiest thing on earth. She's not a health professional, nor is she an athletic coach or anything like that. All she said is love yourself. You want to know what the real pushback is? People don't want you to love yourself. This capitalistic society does not want you to love yourself, because you know what that would mean? You'd have boundaries. You'd expect people to respect you. You would stop waiting on somebody to tell you can wear that dress before you wear that dress, or you can wear that button up before you wear that button up, or you can take your shirt off. Like, you have to be this and this before you take your shirt off. Like, no. So Lizzo has been doing amazing work. And also Rihanna, with her Fenty Savage and all of the diverse models that she's used. Like, you will never see Rihanna put on anything with lingerie and it not be like, you're going to have some people who are older. You're going to have some young people. You're going to have Black people, white people, brown people. You're going to have some people who are fat. You're going to have some people who are thin. You're going to have some people who are thick. You're going to have, like, she has been intentional, and she don't play. Rihanna don't play about inclusivity, like, at all. And I just think those celebrities give me so much hope. But because they just are showing up and like, they're like, hello, everyone, just love yourself. Just enjoy yourself, enjoy your body. Once again, your body is carrying you through a pandemic. I don't know if you understand the weight of that. Like, for a little while, I struggled because I put on my little pandemic 15, and I was like, dang, like, it took me a second to adjust to this. But also, it's like, girl, a pandemic, a panoramic, like a whole panoramic your body just carried you through, and you're gonna be hard on it? Like, no. What we're not gonna do is that. And so, yes, I don't think media as a whole, obviously these big industries that are benefiting from our insecurities, are not going to also tell us to love ourselves. But I do think that people, very specific people in very specific groups, are doing the necessary work. So now we're gonna have Kiera, and then Dr. Key has a comment.
I just wanted to add on really quick about your comments about Lizzo. I wasn't going to, because all y'all have it covered. But I think when it comes to being plus size, there's this thin line for what is okay and what's not okay. And as a plus size person, it's funny to me to see, because like you said, just like saying Black, fat is a word. Like, it's not, it's a word you can say. I call myself fat. I don't think so I think some people think it's a bigger deal than I do. I love myself. I always have. I'm gracious to not have struggled in that area. I've struggled in other areas, but as far as how I think about myself, it's never been a problem. I know what I used to look like, and I know what I look like now, and I know the difference between the two. And while there are many things that go along with it, hormones, getting older, stress, stuff like that, I do recognize that I am bigger than what I once was. And activity, your daily activity goes into that. But I think when it comes to plus size, you can be plus size as long as that figure that you were talking about, Kayla, is still there, that hourglass figure that everybody talks about. It doesn't matter what your weight is if you still go in and out like that. So it's like, when I call myself fat, people are like, oh, you're not fat, you're thick. And it's like, my BMI is very high. I am not that healthy. Like, it's not, just because you find me appealing does not mean that I do not need to work out. And I think Lizzo gets shamed And we might be in the same BMI area, which I don't think is okay. I also don't think it's okay for what a lot of these companies consider plus size. Just because your dress size has a second digit on there does not mean that you are plus size. I'm sure Serena Williams would be considered plus size, and that is a very healthy woman, you know. And so I just think that's one of those things that society as a whole, even these people who have these platforms, who want to be inclusive on weight and body image, that is still something that's very present. So yeah, I'm gonna drop a link in here because I have to go. I need to find the author. There's a book called Fearing the Black Body. There's one about fat phobia, and there's one, oh shoot, it's another one. But the Fearing the Black Body one, that's one that hits home for me because the image on that book is the image of Sarah Baartman. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, do your history. But that's I feel like where a lot of it comes from as far as American society and how we view women and Black women separately.
Go ahead, Dr. Key.
Great. So I want to wrap this question up because I think we have hit it so many different angles and we have had so many robust, in-depth responses. I just kind of want to take the question and stretch the parameters and the boundaries of it just a little. I don't feel that media itself as an industry has done a good job. I do believe that there are some champions for self-love, such as a Rihanna, such as the different Lizzo and others that you guys have named as individuals, but as a industry, I don't think media has done a job. But you have to understand, media is a part of something much greater. And that entity is called pop culture. And pop culture has never embraced certain body images as being ideal. When you go to a boxing match, why does there have to be a woman parading around in a swimsuit carrying a number? It has nothing to do with boxing, nothing at all. And so you have to understand that sex, body image, those things are part of marketing for profit. And secondly, it also is to perpetuate another agenda. And that agenda is that you have to look a certain way to be considered beautiful. And what that does is it drives the masses to spend money trying to look like something that they never can become. And when we think about that, that all links to identity, which goes to what Kayla said earlier. The system does not want you to love yourself, because if you loved yourself, you could give two flying figs about what the system is defining beauty and or acceptance as. So there's multiple undercurrents, if you will, that is pushing this whole thing around images. It's profit, making money, whether it's beauty, whether it's healthcare, whether it's diet pills, whether it's whatever it is. Here's the thing. In most cultures outside of the Western world, being thick or being shapely is considered beautiful. What happens to your body when you become very sick? What normally happens? If someone gets terminal cancer or they get HIV or AIDS, what normally happens when people get very, very ill? What normally happens to their body and their body weight?
They lose weight.
It deteriorates. So in most cultures, being really thin is a sign of illness. But we have been socialized to accept thin as the only sign of beauty. Even in the scripture where it talks about the fatted calf and the lean calf, and how the lean calves were cursed, and it was a reflection of disease, but the fatted calf was a depiction of prosperity and health. And see, you have to understand there's always an agenda. And so when we think about self-care, when we think about it, and this is another thing, I hate that they are trying to pigeonhole this as part of self-care. Me distorting my body has nothing to do with self-care. And that's what they do. So then they tell people, well, I'm having this plastic surgery because I want to feel good about myself. And it's all about how I feel about myself and me. Self-care. Is that really why you're having the surgery, but we're being taught that that's a part of self-care, and that's not necessarily a part of self-care. Not necessarily, it's not absolute, but most of the time it's not. It's about trying to succumb to an image that has been ingrained in your psyche of what beauty and what body image should be. I am short. I will never be 6'2". It just ain't happening. It's not gonna happen. Now I can go and spend money and get those leg or knee implants and try to get larger and look all crazy and deformed if I want to, but it's not gonna happen. So just because I'll never be over 6 feet tall, does that mean that I am not a wonderful looking male specimen? No, it does not mean that, not at all, right? But you have to know, and you have to have a sense of self. And unfortunately, a lot of people who are getting caught up into this have never really had a sense of self, or their sense of self that they did have has been challenged by these constant messages through pop culture, music videos, movies, commercials, television ads, TV ads. You know, everything that we can think of is constantly coming into our eyes and into our brain, and then it starts shaping how we think about ourselves. And the worst thing you can do if you want to destroy a person's purpose is destroy their sense of identity. If you destroy their sense of identity, you have conquered them. And I think that that is what is happening nationwide. And unfortunately, with the young people and our millennials and younger who have this, where they're constantly being fed images all day and all night and have access to stuff on the internet, unlike our grandparents who did not have the internet, they're constantly getting bombarded. So we can see why it's happening younger and younger. You got 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds who wanted plastic surgery. So I just want to throw that out there, that it's bigger than just media, social media or television. It's a larger pop culture thing.
Beautiful. Thank you for breaking it down to the bare bones of the situation, period. Thank you, Dr. Professor Pastor Key. Thank you. Now we can pass the offering coffer. No, I'm kidding. But I think you touched on such essential things. So thank you so much for tying into how capitalism is integral. It is literally woven into this structure of attempting to get us as a society to be insecure in ourselves. And so I'm gonna share with you all an analogy that I saw actually from Instagram. Her name, there's an Instagram influencer. Her name is Tamara. She has a daughter named Lilac who has autism, and they're amazing people. But she one time made an analogy because somebody in her comments, I think, had made a really mean remark either about she or her daughter, about them being different. And someone replied to their comment like, why are people like this? And she said, you know, there are such people in this world who are golden ticket people. And what that means is golden ticket people stand in a line, right? They grow up in a society that tells them you have to be A, B, C, D, E, and F. And if you're all of those things, then you deserve happiness. So it could be, you have to be this shape, you have to make this much money, you have to believe these things, you have to support these things, but you have to do all of these things, and you have to go through this entire process. And until you go through this process, you can't get onto the other side into the concert that is happiness, right? So these people go through their entire life listening to this and hearing this and succumbing to that, right? And so they go through the process. They do A, B, C, D, E, and F, and then they get their golden ticket and they get in line. But this is a long line, right? Because so many people have gone through A, B, C, and D to try to get into this happiness concert, right? And then all of a sudden they see little old, let's say Lizzo, for example, who just walks right past them, cuts the line, and gets into happiness, despite the fact that she doesn't have what society has said is A, B, C, and D that you need to deserve happiness. No golden ticket, just walks into the concert, and they're pissed. They are upset. They are irritated. They feel cheated. They feel like she has done something to them specifically. But you want to know why? Because they're bitter. And no one has ever told them that it's okay for you to not be A, B, C, and D, and for you to still love who you are. It is okay for you to not have this shape. It is okay for your hair not to fall this way specifically when you wake up naturally. It is okay for you to not have these kind of lips or these kinds of hips and these kinds of abs or whatever. And you still deserve happiness. You can still be okay with yourself. And so that's really what we're explaining to you all, is that there are people out there like that. And please don't be that person. Please don't be that person. Please don't rain on somebody else's parade just because your parade didn't go the way that you wanted it to. Please don't. Please don't. That's just not cute. You look bitter. And you know what? Just get out of line. Just get out of line. Walk through into happiness. You deserve happiness, whether you are A, B, C, and D, or if you just have A, C, and F, or if you have none of those things. You deserve to be happy more than anything else. You deserve happiness. And so I feel like that just so well encompasses like this conversation. And so yeah, I just wanted to share that with you all because I feel like it fits so well. And I loved that analogy. When she said that, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna repeat that for the rest of my life. But so yeah, before I move on, does anyone have anything else that they want to say on that question?
I got a small comment. I was just going with the vibe. I mean, you just look at it this way: raining on someone else's parade is not going to bring the sun out. And so we just all need to go inside and have fun in there. Like, obviously what's been going on is not making it work, but that doesn't mean that you can't go a different direction and still find your own happiness. And that's the vibes. That's the vibes.
Yes, that's the vibes. Self-love, positivity, empathy. Yes, all of that. That's the vibe. Okay, so anyone else before we move forward? Okay. So our next question is, what advice? So for all of you all, our experts on self-love for today, what advice would you give to other people who are struggling with body image or who are struggling with their perception of self? So I see Tomas, and then we'll go to Taishay and then Cruz.
Okay, so real quick, I'm gonna tie in, and then I'm gonna tie in another example of body shaming too after my response that often goes overlooked or kind of in the shadows. But anyhow, I just want to say, as teenagers or youth, we always have this feeling that the spotlight is on us. If you walk into Applebee's, if you walk into Champs, if you're just walking outside down the sidewalk, you think everyone's looking at you. If you got that little pimple right under your eye, if your hair a little bushy or whatever, froey, or if your hair too long or anything, if your stash is mustache, if you don't think you fit your own body image, I'm gonna use vocabulary. If you don't think that you're looking good, you think that automatically the people are out there to get you. Number one, whether there's people out there, blank them, F them, forget them. But second of all, also, sometimes it's a mental thing. It might be just you, because all the time, sometimes I might have always thought, oh my gosh, everyone's paying attention to me on this, this, and this. But in reality, nobody cares. Nobody cares. And not to sound jive or crude, but it's true. Us as teenagers, we always think that the spotlight is on us when reality is not, So I just want to say that. Be confident, care about yourself, love yourself how the way you are. And if there's haters, because usually they have an insecurity like people were saying earlier, and they're just trying to get at you. Or you're just thinking, that's where the mental health portion comes in. Sometimes we always start doubting and getting depressed and anxious when you really just got to talk to yourself. You got to use those meditation techniques we covered a while back. But my second portion I would like to address is there's a thing, I don't know if it's the actual title, but voice box shaming, also known as language shaming. If you don't speak Spanish, you're not Mexicano. If you don't speak English and, without an accent or any other type of dialect, then you're not American. If you don't speak Creole, you ain't Haitian. Or if you don't speak Chinese, you're not Chinese, That's really something that's really toxic in communities. And even though it might seem like a little common and all that, no, it's not a little common. It's something big, because that can really tie into your identity. You know, and matter of fact, even a lot of these languages aren't ours. They're the colonizers. You know, do you speak Arawak? You know, trying to talk to me about Spanish. But, you know, if you want, but no, don't let that stop you from wanting to learn the language though, by any means, don't. But another thing I want to touch too, I notice is people sometimes like in the Black community, or, you know, people try to, like the whites try to talk about Ebonics, you know, and think that people are just being ratchet or ghetto or unprofessional, when in reality, Ebonics is a natural thing. You know, it's a dialect, just as with the Southern accent is a dialect, you know? And I feel like that people need to quit judging that with these harsh terms and stuff, saying that, you know, you ghetto, you ratchet, and, you know, like that's messed up too. And then also people need to quit saying that, you know, if you speak proper and you're a person of color, if you're Black, that you're white acting. You know, that's messed up too. Sometimes it's on both sides, you know, like for example, Latinos. People saying that, oh, you're not Latino, you don't speak Spanish. People need to stop with that. Now the people need to quit saying too, oh, you got an accent, you're not American, speak English, you know, forget you, man. Like, no, stop that. And then like I said, with the Black community, you know, if you speak Ebonics, that's okay. Or even if you don't, then you still Black. You still pass the 1% rule drop and all of that. So I just think everyone needs to kind of come together. That's what we have to do. We got to address it first. You know, and whether some people might agree with it or not, that's how we really get to change. But I just really wanted to address that. Language shaming, voice box shaming is something that goes underlooked that needs to be addressed in all communities. So but yeah, I want to just say that too. Yeah, if you don't fit the standard of your ethnic group or race group, just because you don't speak a language or a dialect, you still part of that group. Because let me tell you, back in private school, when I didn't know a lick of Spanish, people were, you know, there were some people that spoke all kinds of Spanish, bachata, Prince Royce Spanish, and they weren't up there calling people out or helping me out when people were talking about, you know, build a wall and all that. They was the most silent people. You know, where's your accent at then? You know, where are you going to defend that then? You know, but me, I was out there. So let me just tell you that when you go out and defend yourself and your people and others, that's what determines if you're part of the crew or not. So, boom.
And to add on to Tomas's point, you can be not thick and still be a person of color. You can still, because I know they'll try to play us Black women. If you don't got a ta-da-da-da, they'll be like, you not Black. Oh, she not Black. She needs some cornbread. If one more person tell me that, now my fist don't need cornbread to hurt, okay? Keep playing with me, okay? Don't, it's just body shaming on all levels in and outside of your community is unnecessary. And for people within the Black community that make comments like that, you are reducing the black women's bodies to their curves. And that is what, once again, colonizers taught us to do. That ain't us. That ain't us. You are reducing yourself. You are contributing to these false narratives that have been taught to us over and over and over generationally, that you're not good enough if you're not A, B, C, and D, once again. And so like Tomas said, just mind your business sometimes. Mind your business. And that's going to be my advice to just haters. Mind your business. Okay. Taisha, and then Cruz. And then is anyone else interested in answering this question? Okay, so we'll do Taisha, Cruz, Christian, and then we'll end off with Kiera.
Yeah.
So my advice would be, other than like love yourself, and look, Tomas kind of took it out of my mouth. Don't care what people say. Like you said, a lot of the time they're not talking about you. And don't. So if you're not positive about your body, don't take it about on other people as well. Because a lot of the times we do that. We think, oh, I'm not good enough to look like that, but I'm going to make you feel bad about yourself. Don't do that. It's not cool. First of all, you're not making yourself a better person. You're not helping yourself out when you're negatively shaming other people too, as well as yourself. Try to do more things that are centered around yourself. I mean, you can tell other people they're beautiful. You can tell other people they look awesome, whatever. Try to look yourself in the mirror. And if you can tell yourself that and believe it, then all you gotta, I mean, some people have a lot to go. Like I said, sometimes I gotta help myself do it. And it don't matter. And a lot of the time with me, I'm biracial. I've got multiple parts on my family, and I have a dialect to them. And it sucks because they don't view me as, being a part of them anymore, because I'm adopted now. So I don't talk the way they talk. I don't dress the way they dress. I don't look the way they look. And that's when it just it kind of hits you and makes you think, am I really that different? And it doesn't help when your own family is doing that to you, or they compare you to someone else in your family. And I struggle with that a lot, being compared to other people in my own family. But try not to let it get to you, because a lot of the people who talk about you, who think of you differently, you won't even see them again in your year. I'm just saying, you will not see them again. And even if you do, don't pay no attention to them, because are they the ones working your life? Are they the ones who's, are they doing your job? Are they doing your schooling? Are they you? No, well then they can go away. Leave you be. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, that's the energy right there. Because one of the things that I always tell to my friends and people that are close to me on this type of subject is you get to choose who's in your life in a lot of scenarios. I mean, you can't really pick your family to a degree, but after there comes a certain point where, you could start towing lines, right? But the one person that you can't avoid is you. Like, you got to deal with yourself every day. And so you got to be on good terms with that person. And that's really important. So one of the things that you could start with is finding those things that you do like about yourself. I mean, there's got to be something. And it could be super small. But you need to start looking away from those negatives that you think everyone notices, because in true reality, they probably don't notice them. Those stretch marks, those scars that you have, they don't really matter when it comes to, some of those more powerful things that help to make you you. And once you find those, you need to learn how to accentuate them and be proud of them and be happy with that. And then if there's some small things that you want to change, like, oh, I want to grow out my hair or things like that, that's cool. But these things are still you. They still help make you you. And that should be something that you should be proud of. I mean, we all have that sort of uniqueness that you can sort of bring to the table. That's something that's different about you, that's cool, that's unique, all those things. And once you start to shift your focus onto those, you'll recognize the other ones, the ones that you didn't necessarily notice before. And now you start feeling good about yourself. And once you get that energy, keep doing it. Whether it's just looking at yourself in the mirror, like Tasha was talking about, whether it's, getting a nice shirt and be like, all right, I feel good today, whatever it may be, as big or small, keep doing it for yourself. You deserve that much. And, eventually, you start putting them planks down, all of a sudden you got yourself a bridge. Let that bridge take you somewhere. I hope it's somewhere positive.
Go ahead, Christian.
See, y'all did great. Like, you've taken everything from me, but I'm gonna talk about the people that are working on themselves, but they just can't get there. They can't truly feel good about themselves. Don't give up. I mean, the only standards you actually are put on this earth for are for anyone else's standards. You don't have to be like anyone at all, because you never will be like anyone ever again, because everyone's different. You can't be born as the same person. So you don't need to try to be the same person just because they're, higher up in society, or they just seem like what you want to be. You are so special because you hold your own story in billions upon billions of years and billions upon billions of lives. It's just such a perfect time to make you feel the best about you. And like I said, you don't live to anyone else's standards but your own. You choose to feel the way you choose. And if you don't, there's help for that. You can keep working at it. Some of the things you say, oh man, I have a scar. I've got these marks on me from my past and I hate them. I hate them. I hate them. You can learn to love them. You can learn to look at the greatest part of them. You can say that, I might not be the most fit that I want to be. You can work to be that way. It's not over. You don't have to give up and feel bad about yourself the whole time and the whole, rest of your life, because you can truly feel great about yourself if you just put the standards aside, put everything aside, and just stare at you and be you, because you are special.
I love y'all. Y'all are just it. You're giving me so much life. So we have Kiera, and then does anybody else want to comment on this? Okay, so we'll have Kiera and then Dr. Key again.
Okay, so Christian, you just changed everything I was going to say, because I just want to echo all of his sentiments, because for me, I'm in my last phase of school, hopefully. I know, never mind, I'm done after this, but it's not happening again. But when I went to college, there was this angry period that I had where I was just combative about everybody, because being from Flint, where everybody looks like me and my image is the standard, when I got to college, I realized how I felt about myself was grounded in other people's opinions. And I actually probably started at home, from my dad saying my nails had to be done, or I had to go out the house a certain type of way. And I didn't even know, like, I always felt like I loved myself, but that was grounded in how other people, you know, gave me compliments or talked about me. And so it wasn't until I was around all of these white people where it was like, actually, I'm not. I think that was the first time that somebody called me fat, and I was like, "No, wait a minute." And so I think if you start, it's cliche, but a lot of things that are cliche have a lot of truth in them. If you start by loving yourself first, and like Christian said, figuring out all of those flaws that you have and coming to terms with them being what makes you different and who you are, then you will be happy. There's posts I'm sure we all see about, there's always somebody prettier, there's always somebody smarter, there's always somebody with more money, and you don't know what somebody else is going through. I've have close friends who I personally thought were, prettier than me maybe, and were America's idea of what the standard of beauty should be. And they had their own deep-rooted issues where they didn't even feel like they were beautiful, so you can't look at other people, number one, to gauge where you are, and you can't take other people's opinion and have that be what boosts you. You do have to start with yourself first. So I think, Christian, you were spot on with that. I also did drop the links to all the books in there, and y'all know I'm notorious for dropping links to books, because these are all books I read and I stand by them. I added Black Fatigue on there, even though that one was not necessarily about body image, because the title of that book is How Racism Erodes the Mind, Body, and Spirit. And all of these things that we're talking about today, it's not just our outward physical features, it's how we feel, it's our spirit, it's our ego, and how we carry ourselves on a day-to-day basis that we let society get in and change us. So I did add that book in there too.
Thank you, Kiera. So now we're going to have Cole, then Tomas, then Dr. Key.
So our eyes are mirrors. So if someone criticizes you and doesn't look at you in the eyes as they're doing it, the reason because of that is because as they look into those mirrors, they see criticisms that they make of themselves. I'm going nowhere with this. I'm just going to shut up.
No, please keep going. You were giving me life. Yes, they're mirrors. Yes, start. Yes,
Absolutely, absolutely genius, Cole.
Keep on.
Keep going, Cole.
You know what? I am a prime example of like most of this insecurity stuff. I just stopped right there. You saw that? Kind of shows, got standards here and there that I think I have to follow because I don't want to be this or that. It goes to show that everyone has flaws. Everyone in the world has flaws, and I mean, sure, more people will point out other people's flaws than their own because people don't want to change. People hate change, and most people, not everyone hates change. Just clarifying that. And change means flaws.
Great
Cole,
point.
you are.
Great point.
Cole, you just give me life. Every time you speak, I'll be like, yes, what he said. Perfect. That was yes.
My brother.
Yes, that's your brother. Great. Okay.
Thank you.
Now we're done with the Cole party. Tomas.
All right, that's what's up, Cole. Chris Cuomo Jr., you got this. Come on. Don't ever, you part of the family, the squad, the gang. So feel free to hop in. But real quick, I was just gonna say, kind of adding in from my previous point, it is true that people don't care sometimes necessarily. And that can be sometimes a good thing and a positive thing. It can be good because people aren't always focused on you, but then that can be bad because as humans, we need, I don't want to say not attention, but sometimes we do need attention. We need positive interactions. We need compliments. So that's the thing I want to say, because I know sometimes like I felt a little down back then. I would come affirmation because I would just come in, nice new fit, haircut, all that, and then no one said nothing. Or I would hear about people doing that to other people as well, you know, and that's not really cool. Everyone's all too caring about themselves, you know. Everyone's too cared about what they slides look like and all that instead of complimenting, you know, being nice to your neighbor. So I just want to do that as a challenge of us FPHYA members and all of our listeners out there. If you see someone, whether they got on some Crocs, whether they got on some Michael Jackson shoes, whether they got on, it don't matter what they got on, compliment them. Go on Instagram, compliment them, slide up, be like, that's fire, you know, that's cold, you know, you my slime, or you want fit, or, you know, all the other little lingo. Do that. That's my challenge to you, because it's true. People don't care, and that is good and bad. It's in the middle. So that's all I got to say for you party people. So
Go ahead, Dr. Key. Wrap us up. Wrap us up. Take it home.
Well, you guys have just laid out literally a roadmap to understanding self. I remember one thing that my grandmother used to say, and then Mrs. Deloney used to say it a different way, but they gave the same message. Your greatest task in life, this is your message. Your greatest task in life outside of graduating high school, outside of going to some type of trade school or college or going into business and being able to provide for yourself and your family, your greatest task in life is to get to know who you are. At every stage of life, that may change. Who you are in your 20s may not be who you were in your teens. And who you are in your 30s and 40s may not be who you were when you were 20. So one thing to understand is that it's fluid. So it's okay it's called evolution. We all evolve. And you need to surround yourself with people who affirm your identity and your ability to evolve as you consider, and not as you consider, but as you continue to learn who you are. Cruz said something about, and my auntie used to say it like this, Cruz, you can't pick your relatives, but you can pick your family. Relatives are who you're related to by DNA, but family are those who affirm who you are, affirm who you used to be, but also affirm who you shall become. And they don't know who that is just yet. You don't even know who that is yet. That's part of self-discovery. So understanding that self-discovery is the core of our identity, right? Here's another thing. Everyone don't come from the same type of home where parents affirm you. You know, I always told y'all my favorite movie was The Lion King, right? So remember when Simba looked into the pond and he saw Mufasa? This goes to what Cole talked about, the reflection in the eyes. In his eyes, he saw the reflection of his father. That gave him a sense of identity. It gave him a sense of purpose that caused him to go back and deal with Scar and all the rest of them, and y'all know the story, right? But the purpose of it is that you have to have a sense of self. And unfortunately, everyone don't get that at the same point in life, right? And so when we think about how I talk to other adults, youth, people in religious, spiritual organizations, people in academia, is I say just the mere fact, and I got this from an old Oprah episode that I saw on social media, but just the mere fact that you're born, your identity is that you're a champion. The mere fact that you made it to this planet, your first understanding of your identity is that you're a winner. And why? Because from the time of conception, right? It was y'all old enough, y'all know about the sperm comes and fertilizes the egg. You beat out 1 million other sperms to get to that egg to make you who you are. So you're already a winner. And if you embrace that, whether you're born in the suburbs, whether you're born in the projects, whether you're born in the ghetto, whether you're born on the east side, the west side, you are a winner regardless to what your social context is, just by the mere fact that you made it to this planet. That's your first identity, is that you're already a winner just because you were born on this planet. And then you have to understand that then from there, your perception of yourself becomes the foundation of your mental health. Your perception of yourself becomes your foundation of your mental health. We call it self-love for a reason. We call it self-esteem for a reason. We call it self-care. What's the root word or the common word in all of those words? Self. So you don't have to go outside of self to know what love is. You don't have to go outside of self to be esteemed, right? So it starts here. But if we constantly look for the affirmation of others, it will erode what we know as ourself. And it will cause us to go down another path where we may want to modify things that are natural for ourselves, right? So when you think about it, one, you're a winner automatically just because you're here. Affirm your identity as a winner before you do anything else, right? Before you take your next course that you think is going to be challenging in school, you're already a winner. Whether you pass it or not, you're already a winner. Whether you get an A or a C, you have to affirm yourself in that space, okay? And then understand that your perception of self is the foundation of your self-identity and of your mental health. So know this, life gonna throw you all a lot of curveballs. You're gonna have some ups and downs, but one thing will be consistent is your sense of self. Whether you're going through a storm in your life or whether you got sunshine and lying on the beach, you still have a sense of self. And so always remember that. And so I'm just excited that we were able, is that all the questions so far for today?
We have one more.
Okay, let's do the last question. Go ahead.
All right, so our last one kind of connects to what we've been talking about in that previous question. It is, what connections do you recognize between collective body image issues and public health? And if y'all would like me to start, I mean, the first one that's just like key connector there is mental health. I mean, the way you feel about yourself is definitely going to impact, you know, how you mentally move in the world, whether if you have confidence or if you feel like you're enough or if you feel drained or things like that. All of that is going to play a role into how you live out your life. And, you know, that's a key critical, not issue, but focus and emphasis when it comes to public health. It's trying to uplift or focus on all the things that are determinants of your health, and that includes mental. But I'm ready to pass this on to someone else. Kayla, you can go next.
I think Dr. Key sort of touched on it when he was breaking down this issue, right? How our insecurities and media's like uplifting of insecurities or uplifting of wanting to change or fix yourself, that plays into how we as a society operate and interact with industries, right? Like how much money do you spend trying to fix yourself? How much money do you put into cosmetic products rather than self-care products or just not spending money on those products at all? And so that is like capitalism is has a major impact on public health. And all of this, as Dr. Key says, just ties back to capitalism and industry and the desire for us to spend more money on trying to fix ourselves. And so I think that's a key connection to public health.
Tomas, you can go next.
Yeah, just kind of to echo everything, you know, how public health is for everything and public health is prescribing a whole population. Well, in a way, it's like body shaming and all that. It's like in this evil layer, and it's making a whole another wave of forged or bad prescriptions, if that makes sense, or like a bad roll of vaccines that all have like a bad side effect or something, you know? It's you know, how public health is everything. It seems like body shame is trying to form its way into everything. Capitalism, even with medications, you know, to get weight loss, you know, supplements and stuff like that. You know, it's found its way into there, the entertainment industry. So just that's kind of how it's making a negative impact. It's kind of like not really, it's not public health fault at all. But I'm just saying kind of like the relations, like trying to bite public health. You know, it's public health influences everything. Body image trying to bite the side of public health and take over everything. So we got to stop that trend, and we do it like this by addressing it.
I second that on all forms. Christian, would you like to go next? We can't hear you anymore.
It's okay, but so public health is, you know, connected to everything. We've discussed this in previous shows and stuff like that. And with, you know, your form and how you feel about yourself, that's a massive part of public health, even if it's just about you, because, you know, you're a person in this, you know, world of ours, public health. If you go out your doors feeling good about yourself with a smile on your face, that's another person happy in our gigantic community, which makes this a tiny but amazing impact on our public health, because you'll make somebody happy and then they'll make somebody happy. And then, you know, all the stigmatisms and, you know, the general bad thoughts about views and public health and all that go away. You just, people feel good about themselves. They're happy with themselves and aren't concerned about what others are thinking. And that goes directly with how people feel socially and people feel, you know, mentally. They feel good about themselves. They want to make more friends. Public health is looking good. So it's a very large part, just as everything is in public health. So
yeah. And like we've all been saying, like this industry, this, you know, social media storm, how it impacts our entire generation. These are all population sample sizes of how this impacts so many people. I mean, it's not uncommon to feel down on yourself. And part of that is because how society is going about things currently. But public health can address that, whether that be enacting policy and things that impact your everyday lives, or that could be, you know, as simple as going through different campaigns in, let's say, schools, and teaching that, you know, we should, you know, invest in our own self-love. I mean, it's so weird that you learn about the entire world, but you don't learn about things like that. It's concepts that are going to help you grow and fulfill any role that you desire to fit in. And you know, we could start to make those type of changes by investing in public health and, you know, applying it in this type of way. Would anyone else like to go? Well, if not, I'm gonna hand it over to Dr. Key so he can end off the show.
Great. So just to give a final remark on your last question, Kayla had an idea for us to do this show on our identities and the intersections of our identity. We call it intersectionality. And that's everything that is public health, right? So whether it's you're Black or you're white, you know, you guys were talking earlier, I think Tomas talked about Ebonics. Well, you know, I had a friend and his cousin was white because they married into another race. And his cousin grew up speaking Ebonics. That's all he's ever known. And then he was criticized by both Black kids and white kids, but that's all he ever knew. And so when we think about the intersection of our identities, were you born in poverty? Are you born female or male or transgender? Do you identify as another gender? What's your socioeconomic status, right? All of these various things that make up our identity is also connected to intersectionality. And we know that intersectionality plays a role in health disparities across communities of color, right? So public health is ingrained in understanding the complexities of that and being able to tease it out so that we can come to concrete solutions. So I'm so excited and elated that we are able to have these. I mean, you guys are having these talks that people with master's degrees and and PhDs are having, and you guys are having them now early. I mean, I wish I had the Flint Public Health Youth Academy when I was in high school and early undergrad. It would have really helped me tremendously. So again, we want to thank everyone out in social media land for tuning in. We hope that this show on understanding the connection between body image and body positivity and body shaming and its connection to public health and mental health was helpful to you. We want to announce to you that all summer long, we will be doing a mental health campaign. So all of our shows will be covering some spectrum of mental health, from the positive end to the negative end, and understanding that we're all mental health. We all have mental health. Mental health should be just as common to us as our going to get physical health checkups, going to get oral health checkups with your dentist. We need to constantly have mental health checkups, whether it's with a professional or persons of accountability that we can be transparent to and kind of let off steam. Everybody needs someone to talk to so that they can make sure that they're in a positive mental health perspective. Thank you again. Be back here Friday after next, same time, for another episode of A Youth Perspective. Have a good evening, everyone. Have a good night.